Welcome to this video where we are going to talk about Spring Boot command line runner. What we'll do is we'll use an application which we developed as part of one of our Spring Boot courses. We'll set that application up first, and then in the step 2 of this particular thing, we would start with understanding what a command line runner is. So the first step, we will set up the application. The second step, what we'll do is look at what a command line runner is. Welcome to this step 1 where we're going to import an existing project into our workspace. The project that we are going to use is something which we created for our course on Spring Boot tutorial for beginners. This is a course on developing simple REST services with Spring Boot. As you can see, it has great ratings, as well as it's a course of about 6 hours in duration. 38 videos, and it's an excellent course. You can look at the reviews as well. In this course, we developed a complete REST application step by step. What we'll do is we'll take this zip, we'll import it, and then we would use that to understand the concept at hand. How do I import that project in? Down below the video which you are watching right now, in the description, there'd be a link to the zip which has the code for the project that we would want to import in. So just click that zip, download the zip into a folder, and extract it to a folder. So if you are on Windows, probably you can extract that zip to C:/some folder in there. And if you are on Mac, do the same thing. Just put it in some folder, and then you can go ahead and import it using Eclipse. So file, import. So I've taken the zip, unzipped it to a folder, and now I'm saying file, import existing Maven projects, and I'm pasting in the folder path. So I'm pasting in the path where that particular folder is in. You can also browse to it as well. So you can do browse and select that folder. Once I do that, this would come in. So you would have a pom.xml which is coming in. Now I can go ahead and say finish. You'd see that the Eclipse would complete the import of the project, and this project would come in. So this project, if you look at it, contains a lot of code. So there is a lot of Java files as well as resources, tests. Once the application has imported fine, you should see a folder structure similar to what we are seeing in here. And also you should see a few or quite a few Maven dependencies come in as well. So you'd see that there would be a host of Maven dependencies which would be there. So that's a clear sign that you got everything working and you are ready to run the application. So how do you run the application? Source main Java, go to com in 28 minutes Spring Boot, student application. So it's a typical Java application. So all that you need to do is run as Java application. This specific application uses a embedded server. That basically means Tomcat is also built into the application. All that you need to do is right click run as Java application, and it would launch up the Tomcat server with our application deployed. For more details about this specific application which we just launched up, you can visit our website springboottutorial.com/creating REST service with Spring Boot. This article is a long article actually taking you through the entire journey of creating the REST service that you are looking at right now. So if you are interested in more details, I would recommend you to look at the description and click the link there. So you should find a link with www.springboottutorial.com. Just click the link and you should be able to understand the details of how to invoke the REST services and things like that. If you're new to Spring or Spring MVC or Spring Boot or Eclipse or Maven or JUnit or Mockito, in the article, you should find references as well. These references are basically 1-hour video courses on all the popular frameworks. So these are very popular videos with more than 100,000 views. So I'm sure you'll find them useful. Now that we have the application set up, and also we can see that the server has started up, we are ready to get into step. Now that you have the application running, we can look at one of the command line runners we are using in this specific application. It's called a user command line runner. So what is the typical purpose of a command line runner? So what I'll do is I'll open up the command line runner interface, which we are implementing in here. Sometimes at the startup of an application, you want to do some things. For example, you want to load certain data, you would want to load some property files, load some XML files and things like that. So as soon as a Spring Boot application loads up, you want to do certain things. Those things you can implement using command line runner. One of the important things is you can have multiple command line runners as it is in the same application context, and you can also you order them by using the ordered interface and the order annotation. But the basic fact is that command line runner interface exposes a way of running something after the load of the application. So as soon as a Spring Boot application is loaded, you want to initialize some data. So that kind of stuff is what is typically done in a command line runner. So the command line runner interface defines a simple method, right? So a run passing in a few command line arguments. So you can pass in these arguments and it throws exceptions. So whatever arguments that you pass in to the Spring Boot application on the command line, they are also made available to the command line runner. So basically, command line runner provides a way to initialize something at the start of a Spring Boot application, whether it's a batch application, whether it's a web application, or any kind of application. You want to initialize something, you would use a command line runner. What we have in the example that we are discussing here is something called a user command line runner. So what we have is a user repository. So in the example that we have in the application, what we have is a user repository, which is a Spring Data REST CRUD repository. So if you look at the CRUD repository, this is something which is exposed by Spring Data repository. So what we are trying to do here is we want to populate some data into this repository. So we want to say, okay, at the start of the application, I would want to create a few users. So those are the things that you are seeing in here. So in the run method, what we are doing is we are using the repository and we are populating data into the database. And we are kind of printing something up. So if I run this application right now, so I have this entire application, right? So you would, if you have already run it, you can look at the log. If you have not run it, then you can say right click, run as Java application. You'd see that the application slowly, Spring Boot launches up, the application is loaded, and once the application is loaded, it would start invoking this specific command line runner, the user command line runner. Application is starting up, Tomcat is up, and as soon as the Tomcat is up, so Tomcat started on port 8080, and immediately it started loading in the user. So it started loading in the users, it prints admin users are so and so. So what these are exactly what's happening as soon as the Tomcat server starts up. So it loads up the application, it's ready, the command line runner runs, and your application is ready for consumption. So if you look at this specific example of user command line runner, it's a very simple implementation of the command line runner. You can actually just write sysout.println and you would see that it's printed in the log. And you can see it's just the same interface. I'm implementing the run method. I'm saying it throws exception and I'm saving the users in and I'm trying to print them out. So basically the command line runner interface provides you a way of running applications, or sorry, not running applications, but provides a way of doing initialization. Spring Boot already has good configuration options using profiles and things like that. You can look at our channel to find more videos related to that. But the command line runner is more typically used in cases where I would want to load up some, let's say a custom XML configuration, or I have some kind of a custom data that I would want to load up. So in those kind of situations, I can load them up using a command line runner, and this would start. This would be loaded when once the application has started up, and then this would be run, and the data would be ready for the application to consume. In 28 minutes, our focus is on making you an expert at Spring Boot. We have created a complete website on Spring Boot at www.springbootutorial.com. The link in the description of video would take you to a page where you find details of all the courses, videos, and the articles we have created on Spring Boot. If you love our videos, you would love our courses too. Our courses have great reviews on Udemy. You can see some of the reviews in here. And there are also articles on basics of Spring Boot, auto configuration, startup projects, startup parent, REST services, web application. All the code examples, we have Maven projects which are present, which you can directly import into Eclipse and start running them, and other references as well. This page would be a great start for you to become an expert on Spring Boot. You might also want to visit our website www.in28minutes.com, all other courses other than Spring Boot as well. Thank you for all the support you are providing us. We would not have grown to 52,000 on Udemy. We would not have such great reviews on courses on Udemy without your support. We would not have been able to grow to 28,000 subscribers and more than 3 million views without your support. We want you to learn and make best use of all the courses that we have. Good luck, and I will see you in the next video or the course. Until next time, here's Ranga from In 28 Minutes signing off.